Hello and welcome to CMPS 1131, Principles of Programming 1, also known as Learning to Build Things with Code. So when learning to program, we need to choose a language, and for this course we will be using C++ as that language. So we'll be learning 6 things primarily in this course. The first one being variables, the second being conditionals, followed by iteration, functions, classes, and mixed in along the way, algorithms. So a key thing to note is that algorithms is just a fancy way of saying recipes. So similar to baking a cake, you could learn to bake a cake through trial and error, or you could simply look up a recipe for how to bake a cake. And so these recipes are called algorithms, okay? So it turns out that in programming, there are a lot of problems that you will encounter that already have a solution. And so those patterns will be important in learning to build bigger programs, bigger and complex programs. Now along the way, we will be learning a bunch of tools. So you'll be learning about Git and GitHub. You'll be learning about Visual Studio Code, which we'll be using to write our actual code. And then of course, to tie everything in, we'll be learning about game programming. And of course, we'll be learning a bit about the Linux operating system. So whenever we are learning anything new, it makes sense to get the big picture. And so I want to go through the different parts, the different steps of actually writing a program. What exactly is programming? So programming or software essentially has 3 components. We have inputs. We take those inputs, we do some computation on those inputs, and then of course we produce some output. So for example, we have a program, okay? So a video game is a program, okay? A web browser is also a program. And of course, a large language model such as ChatGPT is a program. What do they all have in common? Well, they have some means of providing the input, they do some computation, and they have a means of producing some output. If we take the game, for example, to give input to the game console, which is a computer, we use the game controller. All right, so we might press button A or press button B, press the up button. Every time we make some action, we do some action on the button or on the controller, we are actually providing input to the game. And within the game console, we will do some computation. And so for example, if we press the up button, the game console will figure out what should happen, okay? And so after it computes what should happen, well then you will actually see that on the screen as an output. So you might see the player jumping up, right? Again, if we were to look at a robot, what are the inputs to a robot? Well, a robot will have lots of sensors. For example, it will sense how far it is from a wall. Okay, so let's say for example a robot is walking and it senses that it is 1 foot from a wall. Well then that input, the sensing, will be fed into the robot's computer, and then the robot will figure out that okay, I need to turn. And so the output is actually the robot turning away from the wall. Okay. Now, these are the 3 parts of our program or any program. Right? So throughout this course, you will become very familiar with how we use inputs, how we do computation on those inputs, and how we display the results of those computations as outputs. Okay, so that's it for our overview, for our big picture of programming. And so in the next lesson, I want us to jump into the first official topic, which is that of variables. I'll see you in that lesson.